there is something to be said for, the casual tourist sort of walking around and hearing, like that horrible noise. It's quite evocative.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broad. We're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Dawson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing? What's going on?
I'm good, Chris. Just been enjoying a little video by the name of the Abroad in Japan YouTube channel. I've been watching you basically... I'm not going to say debase yourself, but you've basically been explaining that on one or two occasions you've been forced to do things that you don't want to do. And that makes me feel closer to you than ever, because your last video was all about doing a job that you didn't want to do, that you were missold, and it ended up being just a place for a company to hawk a lot of products. And that's pretty much every job I've ever done in my life. Market Trader Radio.
You've never been debased in Japan like me, though. That's my new brand name, Debased in Japan.
No.
I did the stupid live show. I talked about it in a video that came out, didn't I? It was called The Worst Thing I've Ever Done in Japan. It sounds like clickbait, but it wasn't really. If you make it to the end of the video, which statistically many people won't. If you get to the end bit...
He pushed a man off a bike.
Live show.
Killed a man.
I came off my own bike. The stupid... Do you remember the Mitsubishi robot things? This is a live show I did.
Yeah.
With... I was trying to get a visa, live in Japan, and a company was like, "You want this visa, don't you?" And I was like, "Yes, please. Please, anything." And they were like, "Come do a live show for us in Japan, and we'll give you the visa." I was like, "Oh, easy. Done." Yeah. And I thought... I'd be on this sofa with Natsuki doing a live show, which scared me because it was going to be a live studio audience. But with Natsuki, we could have a bit of banter, have a bit of back and forth with the audience. And then when I got to Japan, they were like, "Actually, it's not just a website, it's 12 products and there's 9 influencers doing it with you, and good luck." And that was the end of that, and it was shit. And it was humiliating, and it was hard to watch, but I never thought I would release footage of the live show on the internet. Because I was so embarrassed by it, So I didn't think I'd do it.
Do you not think that, it sounded like there were a lot of people in that room who'd been missold that particular dream, and most of which who didn't have the excuse that they really needed a visa. So the guy who just constantly gets his belly out and just shouts and stuff, he's an interesting chap. I do get the sense that in Japan it's... You don't need to spend a lot of money writing, if you're a comedian. It is just getting your belly out and going, ha ha ha.
Imagine if I did that on Abroad in Japan, instead of having anything of value, I just pulled up my top and went, every episode.
You'd be surprised. Just to go down the Nick Avocado route, or his name is. Just start eating loads of food.
Well, he lost weight, didn't he? I think Dekikin, though, he's a nice bloke. Before the show, we had a chat, and he was like, E equals MC squared and the square hypotenuse, and he was really smart and well spoken and polite. And then the moment the camera came on, it was like he flipped like a switch. And he's seen as the big version of Japan's biggest YouTuber, Hikakin, right? And if you look up Hikakin and Dekikin, they look very similar. So Dekikin is pound for pound twice the size, I think. And genuinely, double the BMI. He's a lovely man. He's still going strong. And, it's not his fault that everything went the way it did. So I don't want to pin the blame on him. It was solely the company who don't exist. I think that's another reason I held off talking about it, is because the company was around for another 2 years, I think, after that show. And I didn't want to get up in the firing line and...
had they taken in any other? So basically, the whole conceit of the whole design of the video is Chris needed a visa, a company dangled a visa, and Chris was basically roped into what is effectively like a home shopping channel, kind of, advertising a million different products from Honda to whatever. And it was, and because Chris has got an artist's soul, unlike me, who will hawk anything for cash. Just putting that out there.
You're an artist. You own a Toyota Century. Only a real artist would be stupid enough to buy a Toyota Century. Games.
Yeah, I'll sell anything. I really. If you've ever done, I remember doing a job for BT Broadband where it was a live call-in show. where I had a conveyor belt in front of me. And if you have a conveyor belt in front of you, you just know that you're not doing a good job. But it was good money, and I can't remember how it all sort of came about. But like I was wearing a lovely eBay purchased sort of oxblood suit, and I seem to recall wearing that on the day. And yeah, I can't remember what I was doing, but I was doing some kind of like live show where products would come in front of me, and I would have to sort of sell the not sell the product, but kind of guess how expensive it was or something like that. But at the end of the day, there was a conveyor belt, and if there's a conveyor belt, you know for a fact you are no better than those Chinese TikTokers who sell products for like a second and then swap them out. So because Chris has got the artist, the Sullivan artist, he didn't enjoy doing that job. But were there any kind of other YouTubers who'd kind of been missold, or did they sort of walk into it kind of with their eyes open? And with that company, did they go on to take advantage of any more YouTubers? Take advantage is too strong, but...
Well, I know Martina, who was sitting on my left, I know she was sort of similarly duped into this and not told what was going on until the final hour. So I suspect most people there didn't know what was going on. They were just like, here's some money, come to Japan, it'll be fun, there's an event. And then everyone turned up kind of thing, you know. And the company in question didn't have the greatest reputation by the end of things. Like I remember there was like one in the space of 1 week, they had 10 to 12 influencers all just fled or left the company.
Right, okay.
Which is never a good sign. My favourite bit of the whole video though is when I'm at the event, I'm like holding up products that are sponsored, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is. I had like this Met's Cola. Have you ever had Japanese Met Cola or something?
Oh,
Japan's
yes, I think I have.
Cola equivalent.
Right, okay.
And it was like a Star Wars thing, and they want me to hold it up and be like, did you know Met's Cola is sponsored by The Force Awakens? Oh. But I just held it up and went, I don't know what this shit is. I've never drunk it. And I didn't drink it in the show. So they didn't really get... That felt good. The companies that were paying the money to this dumb company, getting their products not promoted accordingly. It was quite cathartic. Though I did drink the sake to escape the live show. But, you know, it's not the last time I've done things in Japan where companies have put me in awful situations. Nothing of that caliber has happened. There was a shoot I did with Ryotaro, and it was sort of a soft promotion of the Tokyo Station area, which is owned by the whole Marunouchi area, right? Just owned by Mitsubishi. It's mental. It's like Mitsubishi owning all of Soho, right? If not more. Probably worth more than Soho in London. Imagine that, or like Midtown in Manhattan, like all being owned by one company. And they wanted to sort of promote the Tokyo Station area to tourists coming over for the Rugby World Cup. And it was 42 degrees Celsius for that shoot, and I was wearing like shorts. And after we shot it all, the day after, they were like, this is completely unacceptable. Why are you wearing shorts for this prestigious place in Tokyo? I'm like, it's fucking 40 degrees. And they were like, we can see your legs. This is unacceptable. And they were like, had like screen grabs. They had an Excel spreadsheet with 150 things they didn't like about the video. 150 like points. And they'd like screenshots of my legs. And it was like, this is... with like a circle drawn around it, like, this is unacceptable.
Like an action replay.
Insanity. And then the woman who was overseeing this, sort of helping this shoot, she would like periodically just walk into the frame while Ryota and I were filming, and she just combed my hair. She just brought a comb in and just started combing my hair while we were shooting in the sushi restaurant.
This is wonderfully doddery.
It was insane.
It feels like it feels like if I got my dad to like run a shoot. just
it was worse than that, though.
Go and comb his hair.
It was awful. And then like they wanted me to sterilise this video, and it was like they'd highlight bits of the video to cut out, and it was all the fun moments where Ryota and I were just having some banter or chatting or making fun of each other. We're like, we don't need that. And by the end, the version of the video they wanted was just like, this is a place. It's amazing. Come here. Whoa. My hair magically like brushed in place between shots. Like continuity.
I would love to see the sanitised version. I'd love to see you actually put together the sanitised version, how much fun it would be. It would look like an NHK show, wouldn't it?
It would look like a Cool Japan episode, propaganda arm of the... Yeah, it'd look like crap. In the end, I was like, I'm not putting this out. You can fuck off. We're going to do no changes in my way. Or no video, and they backed down. Right. We got our own way. And actually the woman who oversaw the project for the company, the Middleman Project marketing company, I think she got in a lot of trouble for being really like rude and callous during the shoot.
Right.
So that wasn't fun. So things like that, you know. But I've done a good job pushing back over the many years of work at various companies, and I've got to a point now where I just tell them to fuck off.
At the end of the day, they're looking for your. They're not necessarily always looking for what you can do. It's for what your audience can do. So you know your audience better than anyone else. So they simply have to sort of bow down to whatever you say people need and want, I suppose, because you know your audience best.
Well, I mean, in an ideal world, I wouldn't do any sponsored stuff, right? I would just cut it all out, and it would just all be Patreon funded. But you know, it's so expensive to do some of the videos we do. Like the earthquake documentary last year cost tens of thousands of dollars to produce.
Yeah.
Because we hired a team of like a dozen people to see it through, and it was a proper serious production. And we need like sponsors to fund projects like that, you know. So I do my end game in the long run. 2 years is to sort of hopefully not do any sponsors and just have my own things that I do, like Lost Bar or the book or JJ eSIM, right? Things that I actually own myself and can control. Make sure it's good. But that being said, I'm very lucky to work with good companies. You know, I do pick who I work with very carefully, and you got to do it at times because YouTube is extremely scary and unpredictable. You know, I've had videos that I've released, and it's just like, oh, YouTube didn't promote that one that we spent a month working on. Fuck, no revenue. So that's why you do it, right? That's why, you know, that's why you do it, Pete.
That's why I do it. That's why I
sponsored by Red Bull.
That's why I also operate without an agent. Have you ever sort of worked with somebody really closely to look after your you know your P's and Q's?
Not really, no. No. I just tell them. I'm just at the point where, like, you know, if I have to turn down a sponsor, fine. You know, that's a loss of money that could be bundled into a documentary. I don't think
that's what Chris would like, actually.
You can be my agent.
It's
fucking hell, mate.
I don't think Chris would like that. Yes, and yeah, can I have my 10% now? Thank you.
I want my who's the celebrity person who like wanted M&Ms in their room, but they wanted only the blue M&Ms or something. It was it Whitney Houston or someone? I can't remember.
I thought it was the rock band Van Halen, wasn't it?
Might be, yeah. And it was to show the level of care they wanted, right, when they were being taken care of.
I think it was more just a general sort of safety issue. I think because back then I think you'd play in some quite sort of weird places, and the safety and you know the show itself weren't what would frequently they'd turn up, and you know a lot of the directions and staging that they literally needed to put on a very simple show weren't being followed. So then the safety and the and the quality of the show just wasn't guaranteed. And by putting the brown M&M thing in the rider, I think right at the bottom, if that had been followed, they knew that everything else had been followed. But if there were no brown M&Ms, they realised that you know the whole thing had been quite slipshod, and therefore the people who were putting on the show were in breach of contract. So it was just a really nice way, and it's often cited as being a really.
I want the two kinds of crispy Family Mart fried chicken. If they're not in my office, if they're not in my hotel suite, I know not to do the job.
And then
that's why I want.
And then the person from the production is going, Chris, check your pockets. You've probably got some in there. And then you go, oh yes, I have got some. Delicious.
Oh, I don't know what would be on my list. I'd want a crispy Family Mart chicken, a piece of Ghana chocolate, and a Picari sweat, and a Tully's coffee. If any of those are missing, my God, shoots aren't happening.
Like, if someone asks me if I've ever done a job where it's like, oh, we'll be getting food later on in the day, here's a menu from Nando's or whatever, what do you want? It's like, I don't know what I want, like, 3 hours from now. I don't bloody know.
Oh, man. I know somebody who is a tour guide operator for wealthy people, and they told me, like, they had this rich client come in from Europe somewhere, and they're really rich, and they would ask to have, like, 2 restaurants booked every night, like 2 Michelin star restaurants,
right? And
then the final hour they would be like, cancel that one, I'm going to this one, and they'd have to and it's fucking awful, you know.
Nice.
That's the point I want to be at, Pete. Yeah. Book me the fucking McDonald's. I want McDonald's or Burger King, I can't decide.
I mean, you could do both of. I mean, you could book things and then cancel things. Yeah, I mean, if that's the dream, yeah. I mean, I'll leave all of the super yachts to the oligarchs of the world, and I'll just cancel some bookings I'm not going to make.
You must be invited to Jeff Bezos' wedding in Venice, right?
Oh yeah, in Venice.
Yeah. When are you going? When are you going to Venice?
I mean, that seems very. It's very opulent, isn't it? I suppose. It's the thing about Venice is I've never been, but it just always seems like there's a lot of people that's got complaining, sort of going, "This has made my life more difficult." Having Jeff Bezos' wedding in my hometown, but it's like you already live on the sea, like you already live in a building that is on stilts. You're already living life on hard level. So what's a Jeff Bezos wedding going to do that's going to make your life any more difficult?
I'd love to see at the town hall in Venice in front of St Mark's Square. And you were just telling the locals this. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, for crying out loud.
He'll fucking give you a tenner.
That Republican senator going, hey, we're all going to die. You don't lose your Medicare. You're all going to die, though.
I've been to Venice one time. They got the worst flooding in like 20 years. And I woke up.
How'd you know? It's on water. Oh, no. The town is flooded. We've become even more delightful.
I went down to the kitchen, right? It was in like a three-star hotel, right? And I went downstairs in the morning, and as I got to the stairs that led down to the room with the breakfast tables, the tables were floating.
Whoa.
Literally like a fucking comedy sketch.
Wow.
And the whole room was just floating about a foot and a half underwater. Maybe 2 feet. It was really, really scary, actually. Like, I'd heard rain all night, but I couldn't expect that was going to be the case. And unfortunately, Venice is just a city built on sewage, and so it smells like sewage, and it's very bad in summer. Apparently, I went in winter.
Fish for breakfast. Fish for breakfast.
Oh dear. Anyway,
swimming around your feet.
Bezos' wedding. Where I don't think anyone will top that in a while. Anyway, enough of that. Charles has a lovely story for us this morning, which I haven't read, so I don't know if it's lovely, but it's a story, and it begins. Hello, Chris and Pete. My wife and I just got back from my 3rd vacation to Japan, 3 years in a row. And the highlight of our trip was getting away from the Golden Triangle up to the Hokkaido region. The Golden Triangle. It's not called that. It's called the Golden Route. But I like the sound of the Golden Triangle. It sounds like a Indiana Jones film in the making. While in Tokyo, though, we were able to visit Lost Bar. Yes, and had a great time. In Sapporo, it was very difficult to find a non-smoking bar that was both open and had any seats available. In true Western tourist fashion, we inevitably ended up at the Hub Bar in Susukino. I can't complain. I've been a hub in Susukino. We've all done it. Where the staff are friendly and the whiskey highballs are cheap and huge. While my wife and I were drinking and admiring the view, the biggest crow that I've ever seen landed right outside the window on the balcony and started yelling directly at us for 2 whole minutes. In my inebriated condition, I walked out and gave him a chip, at which point he grabbed it and hopped away to eat it. I left another chip on the ground for him and then stumbled off to use the restroom. When I came back, I wasn't surprised to see the chip was gone, but my wife looked apprehensive. I asked her if everything was okay, at which point she told me that in the 5 minutes that I'd been gone, not only had a random old Japanese lady aggressively chased the crow away, but 2 police officers had come over, picked up the chip, looked around for a minute before throwing it away and leaving. I couldn't believe all that fuss had been made over 1 crow and 1 chip. Nothing else happened, and we stayed a few more hours enjoying the bar. It was all very bizarre. I've seen crows making a big mess out of garbage bags. But have you heard of the locals in Japan being at odds with the local birds? Did I unbeknowingly violate some rule about feeding the birds? Is it illegal? All the best, Charles, bemused from his crow exploits.
That's
what do you make of that,
Pete? Yeah, I mean, I like that the police got involved to find out who this chip perpetrator was, who's been feeding crows. That's absolutely awesome. I mean, there's nothing more charming than seeing an inebriated man just drunkenly just feeding a crow with a chip. Because the only time I've ever, I still do it now, but the only time a bird has ever landed on my hand. The only time a bird has ever landed on my hand was when I gave. It wasn't a chip, but it might have been like a crisp or something, or some nuts or something. I don't know what I gave him. But I put my hand out in Yoyogi Park, and a bird landed on my hand and pecked at my hand to eat some food. And I've never. It was like fucking not Mary Poppins. It was like Snow White. It was like that cool. in like a deserted part of actually the shrine next door in Yogi Park, and is it an Ari shrine? The little bird stood on my hand and pecked at some food.
The only thing you were missing was 7 CGI dwarfs, like
exactly.
the most recent.
That's right.
I mean, crows are seen as like a bad omen in Japan. Ravens, right? They're seen as this bad thing. I read, like, in 2001, the Tokyo governor, this very all-powerful man, Shintaro Ishihara, bit of a controversial figure. He, like, went to war on 36,000 crows, and they, like, tried to take out all these crows in what sounds like a plot of a horror film. I don't know if it went well or not, but lots of crows got killed, unfortunately.
They all joined into into the shape of a big mega crow that chased Shintaro Ishihara down the street. I mean, there is something to be said for, the casual tourist sort of walking around and hearing, like that horrible noise. It's quite evocative. Like, you don't hear that anywhere else in the world on a suburban street. Hearing like kind of just crows just absolutely going to town. It's really good stuff, but wouldn't want to hear it every day.
Well, in my first video, I got woken up by a hawk, and that was actually quite pleasant. It was like this nice high-pitched intermittent twoo. If it had been a crow, it would have been a very different set of affairs. It would have made me feel like I was in a country in decline, which is what this week's news story is about, because 7 in 10 Japanese people feel their country is in decline, which is what most people in most Western countries think and feel at the moment, I think. So it's probably coming as no shock to anyone. But fill us in, Pete, what's going on in Japan about decline?
The polling firm Ipsos, who I didn't realise did a lot of work in Japan, but they apparently they do. What worries the world survey? Can you imagine, can you imagine just being on the street and someone comes over and goes, "Sorry, could you get involved in the What Worries the World survey?" I was like, "Oh, come on, mate, it's a bit heavy. I just want a Greg's." 70% of Japanese believe their country is heading downhill, which is a serious majority, you'd have to say. You'd have to look way back to the mid-90s for a drop like this, when Japan already had a rough patch economically. The survey tracks public opinion on the most important social and political issues across 30 countries, drawing on over 10 years of data to place the latest scores in context. So there's a lot of reasons why people are feeling down around the world, but mainly in Japan here. Money troubles, costs for just about everything are going up, and wages are hardly keeping in line. Did you see that video from Dogan, which half of it was just an advert for your book? He just busted out rightly so.
When?
He just did it.
Last month.
He just did a thing about basically how to save money, how to keep yourself in good financial stead, so that when you finish your contract with Jet or whatever language school you're working for, you're not massively in debt. He does make the good point that I didn't really sort of think. Obviously, in the UK, you finish your university thing and you have a certain amount of debt. Obviously, in the US, I mean, you're heading to like 100
You were lucky
grand.
though. You missed the big boy stuff.
No, I didn't. I was the first year of loans, actually. Thank you very much. I was the first year. We used to have a grant system, which meant you were mainly free education, but mine was the first year I had to put my hand in my pocket.
But it got a lot worse, I think.
It did get a lot worse,
progressively before, during, and after I became a student. Yeah.
Yeah. If you are looking to not pay any student loan back, just move house a few times. I did that, and they forgot. And then I went off the payment system from the government, and then they just went, "Oh, you owe 10 grand." I was like, "Oh, that's a pain in the
I
arse.
did that, but on a global level, because I came to Japan, and they were like, "Where you gone?" And they couldn't find. And then
they really are a bit thick, aren't they?
I messaged them after 3 years, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't think. I thought I didn't have to pay it back until I earned a certain amount or lived in the UK." And they're like, "No,
pounds.
Supposed to be paying it back now." In the end, I paid it back. It took like 5-6 years, but actually it took longer than that. But I know it's a lot worse for the kids these days. The young folk.
If you want a break from your student loan repayments, just move house because they cannot find you. They are rubbish. Anyway, back in Japan, a grim mindset. Just 30% of folks say they're happy with their life quality and only 15% expected to get better. Demographic fears. Japan's population is both shrinking and aging fast. Many worry cities might start fading away by 2035 unless something changes. Security worries. Around 62% think Japan could be dragged into a serious conflict in Asia soon, thanks to flashpoints with China, North Korea and global tension like the war in Ukraine. Daily stress, less hope for improvement, fewer younger people around, and outgoing politicians warning war might be on the horizon is a pretty shaky mix. And prices rising all of the time as well. It's kind of...
It's all gone wrong.
Could this spark positive changes now? It's all out in the open. It's one of those things where it's like, I always sort of think that like my parents' generation are very down on, our major city, London, and they're very down on like a lot of things, basically. They think that violent crime's gone up when in fact it's gone massively down since the 90s. In almost every metric, we're in a better place than we used to be, but that's not how people kind of regard it. Obviously, the cost of living is a massive issue and that needs to come down. But we're obviously on the precipice of a lot of problems outside of that, but certainly the cost of living, certainly the quality of living has never been higher. We've never been healthier. We've never been safer. We've never been, etc., etc., etc. But the proliferation of nuclear content, nuclear munitions, isn't a great thing to be standing on.
I think it's all sorts of things. I mean, I can't speak for Japan. I mean, in the UK, it's cost of living, it's jobs market. I think AI's got a lot of people scared. I get why in Japan they've got security worries, right? The country's surrounded by China and North Korea, and that's never much fun. And 62% of people are worried that there's going to be like a conflict in Asia in the not too distant future. And I think a lot of people believe that China might well attack Taiwan around 2027, so that could happen.
I always think that with like Britain, we're kind of a place where a lot of things started, trains and trains and guns and all that stuff. All the big kind of like a lot of the big inventions and stuff started here. So I think that like Britain would be a big. I know the gun fanatics over in the US would tell me that that's not true and the US invented a gun, but I don't know. Either way, we started a lot of stuff and like we obviously had a massive.
Guns are made in China.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, all right, fine. And who owned most of China? But anyway, like I always sort of think we'd be quite a big kind of head to put on a stick. I think if something went kicked off massively, I think like we've got no defences now. We've got like 3 planes.
You are the first line of defence, Pete. You're ready.
Yeah,
You're ready.
A bit deploy Dad's army. Down the Thames with a pointy stick. Yeah, it is, but it is kind of like we've got no way of defending ourselves. We are quite a big kind of feather to put in someone's cap, I would say. Because like, are you going to go for France? It's massive. Or do you want to go for the UK? You could decimate in like 3 days, and it would be. And we used to have an empire, and you could destroy the entire British Empire in one fell swoop. I do.
Stop giving people ideas. Stop giving people ideas. You're supposed to be our first line of defence with your katana sword. Oh. I think in Japan, maybe a lot of these issues are more pressing in terms of demographics, right? The drop in population every year is phenomenal and pronounced and visible in the countryside. And the cost of living's here. The rice. I think the price of rice has dipped recently and it's gone down a bit. But obviously that was... When your main staple food like doubles in price, it's a cause for panic, right? It's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, I speak to a lot of Japanese people over the last decade and I'm like, what do you feel? Everyone's like, not good, decline, not great. It must have been. But then, what did they say in the 70s and the 80s when the economy was good? Was it the same? I suppose everybody did have a lot of money to blow and spend on things then, so maybe it wasn't the same. But. One wonders. But I don't know, man. It's unfortunate. But this is not a Japan unique problem.
No, completely agree.
Though I was speaking to a friend the other day, and he said his Japanese partner works like 6 days a week and starts at like 9 a.m. and finishes at midnight. And I was like, oh, that might be quite. That might be why.
That might be the issue.
People aren't having
actually.
Kids. Yeah. The daily stress and the work hours. it's not good. If any country needs to implement a 4-day work week, it's Japan. I think that would really help. Yeah, that's what I would do. But unfortunately, the politicians here do not ever seem to tackle the issues head on. Really, I think the one thing that was done, Shinzo Abe, controversial thing. He did lead to an increase in immigration coming here, and Japan needs hundreds of thousands of immigrants every year to come to Japan to fill the positions. And if you come to Tokyo now, you'll see a lot of the convenience stores and restaurants, fast food places are staffed by non-Japanese workers because they can't get Japanese workers. So he did open the doors there to try and get more immigration in, and that, I think, has probably been to Japan's benefit. Although, I think people are shocked and surprised when they go into a store and they don't see any Japanese workers anymore. It's quite a big change, quite a big deal in Japan, I think. Yeah, it's quite a big change, demographics-wise. But it's the same. But Japan is still good. It's very good. It's a stable country, and it's clean, it's tidy, it's nice. The food's great. There's a lot of great stuff going for it, and
standard of living is very, very high compared to a lot of places.
It is high. It's very high. Yeah, arguably quite a bit higher than the UK in some respects. But I don't know. It's one of those things. Really, it depends where you are, like on the scale, isn't it? But I think Japan's still a great place to live, and I wouldn't let this get anyone down.
Agreed.
Still a lot going for it. We'll be back in a moment, guys. Your stories, comments, and questions over in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with a fax machine. What do we got this week from our listeners? Mr. Donaldson, fill us in.
Back with a fax machine. Oh, Ashwin Verma from India. Hello, Ashwin. I don't think I've ever spoken to an Ashwin, and I've not spoken to an Ashwin here either. I'm just reading an email out from Ashwin. Thank you, Ashwin. Yes, a dear caffeinated Chris and percolated Pete. I'm an engineering student from India who will be travelling to Sendai, Japan in August for entrance exams and an interview at Tohoku University for my master's. What are some important tips, expectations, or etiquette that I should be aware of when doing interviews in Japan? Oh, got the hiccup, sorry. I want to make sure I show proper respect and avoid any unintentional mistakes. It's mainly just turning up on time, isn't it, and wearing a nice suit?
Yeah, I mean, be there like 10 minutes early, minimum 10 minutes early. I remember when I was working at a school, they'd like drilled it into the students how to do this, and they'd put them in the staff room and they'd have to come in and imagine they were in an interview, and they always came in, did like several bows, and were like, it was almost like militaristic. They'd have to be like, my name's Chris, I'm 15, I'm a student of business, and they'd like bow, and it would be like really formal. It's not like in the UK where we sort of come in and you have a little bit of chit chat about football, how well Chelsea Football Club did, and you go, oh yeah mate, There's no banter like that. It's extremely regimented and formal, so bear that in mind. Lots of bowing, lots of politeness. Use keigo, which is a nightmare to learn, but you've got to learn the formal Japanese stuff, and that's it really. And if you get offered tea, maybe drink a little bit of it, but not all of it. It's a bit crass to like gulp down all the tea. I mean, I do, because I'm a monster. Whenever I'm offered it, I'm like, where's more? Well, you're supposed to sort of wait for the You wait for the person who's the highest ranking individual to drink it first. Then you can have your drink, and you sip it very occasionally, but you don't really drink it because drinking it all looks greedy. So. Is that not when? Is that not like when? Was it? I can't remember. Was it Yeltsin? And it was one of the Russian. It was one of the Soviet Union's premiers back in the day. Obviously, he wasn't that, but where he waited. It was Brezhnev, who waited for the US president to drink his drink before he got involved because he was scared it was poisoned. It's like, imagine turning up and sort of go, "You haven't poisoned me, have you?" Candidate number one. It's the same. Yeah, so imagine it's poisoned. Drink it sparingly. The best of luck to you, though, Ashwin. I'm sure it'll go well. Sean from Edinburgh says, "Hello, Chris and Pete. Every time I travel, I have a tradition that I acquire a branded beer glass for whatever the local brewery is." That's pretty cool. I've amounted quite a selection from places as far and wide as Poland, Thailand, and Australia. Is Japan big on craft beer? And in particular, do they have branded beer glasses to go with each of their brands? Finally, how hard would it be to get your hands on a branded beer glass? All the best, Sean from Edinburgh. I was at the Ebisu brewery just the other day in Ebisu, and funnily enough. And I would recommend going there. I do think there were some glasses on sale, so maybe go there. It's not technically craft beer, but it is good beer. But yeah, no, go to the brewery of each beer place. Like the Sapporo Brewery is really cool in Sapporo. And I think you can get the glasses there. But don't hold me to it. Just use Amazon. Amazon.com. Get your beer glass.
Get yourself a beer glass. I would say I've never seen. I think it's fair to say I've never seen a branded beer glass. They have like sort of special frosted ones and stuff. But I don't think I've ever seen a branded beer glass. I'm probably quite wrong, but maybe it's just not the Japanese vibe, which I enjoy. People get very upset about not getting the right beer in the right glass when they go out for a pint. But I've never really understood why.
Rightly so.
Right, just enjoying the capitalist wonderland ourselves, I suppose.
Jesse says, LA Chris Pete, I taught English in Japan for private kindergarten in Nerima, Tokyo, while I was studying for my master's in 2010. Next week will be my first visit in 15 years. Holy crap. And I hear things are very overwhelmed with tourists, more than I've ever encountered, even living in Tokyo back then. If I avoid all the tourist traps, will I still be all right? Even 15 years later, I fear I will want to call ignorant tourists meiwaku, nuisances, or cringe until I fall apart. Kind regards, Jesse. I mean, if you're here at the moment, there's like no tourists. It's very quiet. It is very quiet because it's rainy season, as I said before. It's a good time to come here, come in June. But I'd be fine. The only place I feel overwhelmed is Kyoto, around the what's it called? The big shrine. Ooh.
Oh yes,
yes.
The
Kiyomizu-dera. Sorry,
Kiyomizu-dera.
Kiyomizu-dera Temple. As you go up to it, there's a big street, and it's heaving with people, and it's almost traumatically scary walking down it because it's so busy. That's bad. The market, Nishiki Market, can be a bit bad on a wrong day, like a weekend. But Tokyo's not too bad though. It's such a big city that the tourists are quite equally dispersed across it. But places like Harajuku are very touristy, so bear that in mind. But
I think all of these stories about there being a million bloody tourists around, I think when you actually get it, it's kind of the same as it always was, really. I just think there's just a few bad eggs making it seem like they're beset by an invasion. Yeah,
there's always some idiot doing something stupid. I think the next episode we're talking about somebody who did something stupid in Kyoto, but for the most part it's fine. Just don't worry about it. Don't let it get in the way of your wonderful trip back to Japan, the first time in 15 years. Have a good one, Jesse. Keep the stories, questions, comments coming in to abroadjapanpodcast@gmail.com. We'll be back later in the week, guys, do all over again. But for now, have yourself a great few days. Stay hydrated. Not like me, this is coffee. And have a great time. Bye for now.